This is a game I've been waiting a long time for on Nintendo Switch. I've followed this game from its development all the way up to its launch. I was super excited to play it. I jumped in around the Frontiers update and I've actually liked the game quite a lot since. I enjoyed it for its experience and hope it would eventually improve through time, which I'm happy to say it did. Now we have 2 trailers and 10 screenshots to look at for No Man's Sky on Nintendo Switch. But before we get into that, hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage, a Mage's quest to talk about games. In today's video, I want to talk about No Man's Sky coming to Nintendo Switch. If you're one of the 100 plus subscribers on the channel so far, thank you very much. It's literally the only way this channel can grow. If you like our content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. So to begin with, the game will be single player only at launch on the Switch. Multiplayer will apparently be patched in post the game's launch. For me, that's okay. I mostly play No Man's Sky as a single player experience, but for those of you that want to play the game multiplayer, we still don't know when this will be out for the game. We have a lot to go through today. We'll start off with graphics, move on to the trailers, then screenshots, and lastly, any questions that I might have. So here we go. Graphics wise, the game obviously doesn't look as good as it does on Windows, neither was I expecting it to do so. The game will probably be using a dynamic resolution. I hope the top end of this will be around 900 to 1080p, but to be fair, I'm expecting it to be around 720p, but again, this hasn't been announced. Hopefully we'll see more of the gameplay before the game launches so we can assess the graphics a little bit more. If the game graphically or performance wise isn't where Hello Games wants it to be at launch, hopefully they'll continue to support it in the future, a lot like they did with the game on Windows. So let's start with the first trailer, the Sean Murray trailer, if you will. The trailer starts off showing the player running around an outlaw space station. We see one of the new solar ships here, which is great because it's one of my favorite ships in the game. And then we see the player running around a little bit more, and then the player stops at their ship. Here, we see the person playing the Nintendo Switch presses the Y button, and then there's a video edit. The screen fades on the Switch itself. If you've played the game before, you know when you go up to your ship, you teleport from the outside to the inside of the ship. We usually would see a camera swoop from behind the player, and then it moves to behind the ship. However, here in the trailer, that does not happen. Like I said, it just fades out when the player gets to the ship and fades in with the player inside the ship. So a little bit of trailer magic being used here. Once inside the ship, we can see the textures here are kind of low in this image. The text here also says entering Outlaw Station for some reason. I don't think that's correct. We can see when the trailer moves on, the text is then edited out, and the ship leaves the Outlaw Space Station. Next, we see the player flying with the jetpack on a planet, showing some player-made stairs here. Then there's a little walking sequence to show a small base. We also get to see here that the glass dome doesn't have power. We now see the player running up towards a sentinel tower. We can see a walker here in the background, but there's something that I noticed here that might be a little bit interesting. We can see what might be the draw distance here in this clip. By paying attention to these areas, we will see it if we rewind this a little bit. You will see what looks like the draw distance limit, at least near a sentinel pillar. We can see it fading in and fading out. We then see a friendly walker following the player around, and then the return to the sentinel pillar. The player then is in combat with the sentinel walker, and we also see the player walker again here on the right, and here again. Another walking sequence, and then back to the battle we go. The next sequence, the player is flying around in space. To finish off this trailer, we then see what might be the game loading with the logo visible on screen. And that was the end of trailer 1, so let's move on to trailer 2, or the date trailer. This trailer starts with a player in a cave. We can see the scanner at work in sweep mode. The player walks towards the exit of the cave. Then we see a mech, a ship flying on a planet, the player riding a flying creature. We return to the initial planet. The game title is revealed. This planet looks like a paradise planet and the player walks towards their ship. I have to say there's a lot happening on screen here for this to be running on the Switch, which is a good sign, hopefully. Why is there such a big path here, by the way? This really stood out to me in the video. On a good note, maybe they're trying to show us that the draw distance for base parts holds up well. We get a tiny little segment with the mech again. I don't understand this little segment except for maybe it's teasing motion blur. We then see a spaceship leaving a space station, the player running towards another ship, and return to the original Paradise planet. At this point in the trailer, we actually see the animation from the outside of the ship to inside of the ship, so kind of confused why it was missing from the last trailer when it's actually here in its full uncut motion. It goes from a third-person camera on foot to a third-person camera in the ship. The player's ship then takes off. We can clearly see a holo terminal here, and then the ship continues to fly off towards the atmosphere of the planet. But if we stop at this point in the trailer, on the left-hand side we can see a floating building. I don't know what it's doing in the trailer, but hey, at least it made me chuckle. We then are in space, and several little videos happen in succession, and we return to the ship, leaving the atmosphere and into space itself. The Nexus is then summoned, and then it fades out to the player walking through a space station. Then the player is on a flying creature, and if we freeze frame right here, you can see another example of the draw distance, or at least what it might be, on the Nintendo Switch. We move on to a battle in space and a zoom out to a Nintendo Switch in handheld mode, which for me will never get old. I love it when I do that in trailers, especially with gameplay. Now we're near the end of the trailer, and it says that the game includes 6 years of updates. We see the updates move really quickly, but I've taken some stills so that we can see these properly. The updates shown in the trailer are Foundation, Pathfinder, Atlas Rises, Next, The Abyss, Visions, Beyond, Synthesis, Exomech, Desolation, Next Generation, Origins, Companions, Prisms, and Expeditions. And we end with a final date for the game on Nintendo Switch and a look at the retail box. I think the trailers are really good to build excitement. I would like to see more gameplay, including interacting with other characters in the game and some of the UI, especially for the text size. But generally, trailers wise, I liked what I've seen so far. I do have an addition to this trailer, which is this image. It does show that the Living Ship update will also be in the game for the Nintendo Switch. So those were the trailers. Now let's move on to the screenshots that are available. In the first screenshot, we're looking at the player in a normal space station. We can clearly see the teleport station in the back. The player is using a default outfit with the default backpack, and I think it actually looks like a really nice screenshot of the game in gameplay. And I think gameplay wise, it's a really good example, hopefully, of what we're going to be able to see on the Nintendo Switch. In this screenshot, we can see the player running away from a worm in the background. We see a ring planet right there. This will be a running theme, by the way, in these screenshots. The helmet is now different, and the color of the suit itself. We can see what seems to be like bubble fauna right here as well. And if we look closely down here on the back left hand side, there's another holo terminus right there. This screenshot also shows quite a big draw distance. So hopefully what they're doing is the bigger objects are generally visible farther away and the smaller objects pop in as we walk along. The next screenshot, we're back in space. Not much to see in this one, but the main focus is again the freighter. Looks like a battle has just taken place, as I can't think of any other time we'd see so many of these little ships on screen all at once. And we see another ring planet here on the left. Now this screen, there's quite a lot going on graphically. It looks like a Paradise planet, very similar if not exactly the same one from the trailer we looked at earlier. The player is just outside of a cave, as we see stalagmite right here. We also see the players now sporting one of the newer backpacks and not the original ones. There's one sentinel right here on screen, and we can see the little scanning ray up here indicating there's one just off screen at the top. We see a two-legged creature, a four-legged creature, and a player ship here on the left-hand side. Two planets are in the distance, and of course, one of those is mandatory to be a ringed planet. The look of the planet and the colors we're seeing on screen, it just reminds me of the original planet we saw in the original trailer for No Man's Sky. We also see that maybe the foliage has a limitation in draw distance also, as if we look behind the tree, we can see what seems like the foliage has stopped loading right in this area. So again, another limitation that might be there on Nintendo Switch. Next, another space scene. A battle is definitely taking place in this one. The enemies are on screen here and here. The player seems to be more interested in mining that asteroid whilst that battle is going on in the background. And of course, another ring planet right here on the left. Saying that, it might be the same planet in all the images, as this gameplay could have just been made in one solar system, but we don't know. In this screenshot, we see the player on a cold planet, and we again see another base. I think this image is to let us know that all the power generation features in the game will be intact on the Nintendo Switch version. Next, we have the player inside of a space station. I have to say that this is probably the lowest resolution we've seen so far of the player model. Moving on, we see the players change clothes once again, and there's another worm on screen. For the last screenshot, we return to a space station, but this time on the other side where all the shops are located. We can clearly see Scrap, Multi-Tool, Spaceship, and the Exo Terminal right here on screen. So that does it for the trailers and the screenshots. So let's move on to any questions that I might have after looking at these. So questions wise, at the top of my list has to be the expeditions. As the players on Nintendo Switch haven't had the chance to unlock all the expedition rewards so far, will the players have a chance to do so, or will they all be included? So far from what I've seen, nothing's been said about this. So maybe the way to fix that would be having all the expeditions on the cart and unlocking it season by season maybe. Again, we just don't know at this time, but it's something that's really interesting to me, and I think it's something they should let us know about. Next would be gyro controls. I'm not sure if this feature will be included, but it would be very helpful to have in the game. If these controls are in the game, can we please limit its use by making the player have to hold down a button to use it? I don't like gyro controls when they are automatically on, as I noticed that there's a lot of jittering that happens as you're running around as a player. I always prefer gyro controls the way it was implemented in, say, Breath of the Wild. You hold down a button, use the gyro controls, you let go of the button, you're back to normal gameplay. HD Rumble would also be a nice thing to have in the game. Don't know if it's there, hope that it is. Next would have to be touchscreen controls. I think touchscreen for me should be implemented for inventory management, as it would be really helpful just to move stuff around. Now, the second to last on my questions list would have to be multiple text sizes. There's a bit of reading in this game, and we would be looking at a handheld screen. So hopefully there'll be multiple sizes for the text in game. We have seen this problem in other games before, and hopefully Hello Games includes this feature from day one. Lastly, Amiibo. I know I keep on going on about Amiibo, but it's something I really liked. It's far-fetched, but as someone that wants No Man's Sky stuff, an Amiibo of the starter ship would be great, or an Amiibo of an Atlas pass. I just think it will be a fun thing to have from the game. Maybe you could scan it in every day, and then it would give the player a choice, and that choice would lead to a randomized item. If the Amiibo was of the Atlas itself, maybe the daily dialogue could be something like, how can the Atlas help you today? And the options would be assistance with travels, items, inventory, or multi-tool. Again, far-fetched, but I'd love to see an Amiibo of No Man's Sky. We never know, we might see one. I didn't expect to see one for Shovel Knight, and here we are. We have at least 4 for Shovel Knight so far. 2 thumbs up, love all of them. So you never know really. Lastly, as a No Man's Sky fan, I'm really happy to see this game coming to Nintendo's portable system. I cannot wait to try it, and I want to see what Hello Games can do with this handheld version of their giant game. The experience of playing No Man's Sky is still really special for me personally, and having that on the go is both mind-boggling and awesome all at the same time. So what do you all think of what we've seen about No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch so far? The trailers, the screenshots, today's chat. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? How would you change it? Please leave your impression down in the comments section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much again for watching. If you like our content, we have a few videos talking about games, mostly arcade and retro on the channel. If you'd like to watch these, please do so. Please take a look. Helps out the channel a lot. If you like our content and you want to help our channel grow, please click that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more of our content in the future. And until then, thanks again.